Awesome. So now that everybody's done with the fried calamar and the mini burgers, it's time to talk about health. And so before we get into it, I want to give a huge thanks to Joey and Sylvain because you guys really nailed it with your presentations. You put the standards really high for me, so I'm excited to be here. It's probably going to be one of the shortest one, but one of the most vicious one also. So get ready. We're going to talk about how to conduct yourself like a true high performer, right? And the main reason why this matters for you guys is because you're obviously all performance-based, right? And performance-based people are all paid based on their performance. So if we know that to be true, then as a high performer, you're going to want to maximize how much you perform so you can maximize how much you earn, right? It's kind of simple. So we'll do something pretty creative. You're going to want to treat this as a workshop, and a workshop where you can design your life the way you want to have it, with the kind of performance that you want to have, okay? The goal for this presentation is just to give you ideas and golden nuggets how to actually structure different areas in your life to increase your performance so you can make more money and we can all make more money together, right? That's how it's going to be. So a few common misconceptions before we dive into it. And the number one is that high performers are naturally born this way. You know, that can be true sometimes, but it's very rare. You can look at Mike Tyson. He was 15-year-old and he was beating up 30-year-old professional fighters. So obviously he was kind of born this way. But if you look at Kobe Bryant, he didn't even make his high school basketball team, right? So he was definitely not a high performer at that time. He had to build his way up. Secondly is that you can be a high performer only at work and mess around in other areas. The exception to that, because there's exceptions, John Daly. For those of you that know him, he was actually one of the best golfers on the PGA Tour, but was not a high performer outside of that, right? So obviously he didn't sustain it too long. Another one is money before health, right? So think about this, envision yourself 15 years from now. Would you rather have $200 million in the bank, but move around in a wheelchair, or have pain? Or would you rather have 20, be in perfect shape, and ready for another 15 years of glory? Right? Well, I know which one I'm picking.
The 200 million.
So, three main things we're going to talk about today. Health, because health is always number one. So we're going to talk about that mainly, right? Relationships, because that's going to come second, right? And lastly, money. So, let's talk about health first. And one of the biggest indicators is actually your sleep quality. That's one of the easiest things that you can control. And I'm going to give you guys a couple tips on how you can structure your sleep to maximize your recovery and show up ready to go and fired up every morning. So, number one is going to be a stable routine. And that means an exact sleep time and an exact wake time. Whatever works for you. But that's going to help, obviously, regulate your body. Another trick that I personally learned is you don't want to wake up to an alarm clock, right? So if you don't wake up before your alarm, it means probably you didn't go to bed early enough, okay? So our bodies are naturally regulated to wake up when they're rested. And if you break that cycle, you're doing something wrong. So find what works for you. Personally, I need 9 hours of sleep. So my current sleep routine is 1:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. when I'm in Dubai, or 10:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. when I'm in a good time zone. So if you can thrive and survive and thrive on like 5 or 6 hours, then maybe you're not pushing hard enough during the day. You're not getting yourself tired enough, either mentally or physically. Okay, a good indicator, because I did all the fancy stuff, like I did the sleep trackers, I did a bunch of that stuff, and it all pretty much comes down to how you wake up in the morning. Usually I can tell how I wake up before looking at the trackers, right? So do you wake up immediately ready to go, fired up, energized, or do you wake up and it takes you about an hour to be ready to roll out of bed, right, and crumble around? So if you wake up and you're not fired up, then you're probably tired. Maybe you've accumulated years of being tired, so it's going to take a long time to recoup that, but you got to do it. Another good tip is try to stop eating 2 to 3 hours before going to bed. Okay? And one of the main reasons for that, I don't know. I just know that I usually fall asleep a lot better, and I have deeper sleep on all the trackers, which gives me obviously better rest and all that. So,
So what time is dinner tonight?
I don't know. Yeah. But these are obviously ideals that you want to strive for, right? It's not going to be happening 100% of the time, unfortunately. Now, this last one here really sucks. That's by far, the hardest one for me to do, is try to do no phone or blue light 1 to 2 hours before your bedtime. Okay? Screens. So, a lot of people do reading, meditation. That's the one that I'm having the hardest time with. That's the one that I struggle with. I use blue light blockers so I can cheat a little bit and still be on my phone. But
Glasses or
yeah, glasses. Yeah. So those are kind of the main sleeping tips that I can give to you guys. And if you just actually apply that, your sleep is going to be 10 times better.
A little trick for that, pre-plan your day. You should be doing that every night before going to bed.
Yeah.
So that way you wait, you don't have to, your brain is not going your entire night. So pre-planning your day at night, and then it evades you going on your phone too.
Absolutely.
Another classic one is your room temperature. So
Yeah, I think.
you got it.
Oh, I got it more.
I'll let you go. I'll let you go.
Yeah. So room temperature is a big one that's overlooked. Okay.
Really?
Generally speaking, you want a pretty cold room.
I think it's like 67 Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
20.
Yeah. You want a pretty cold room. Usually 18 to 21 is probably in terms of degrees, the hottest you'll want to sleep. And now a common mistake that people do is they get a cold room, but then they get really warm bed sheets. So, it kind of defeats the whole purpose. You want to be slightly chill when you sleep, rather than all, sweaty and warm and all that. Now, here's another one. I'm a morning, I'm a night person. That's completely false. It's all about your standards, right? So I'll give you guys an example. Imagine someone in LA, right, a PST time zone. They can't go to bed before 1 a.m. And they wake up every day at 6 a.m. to go to work. So technically, they survive on 5 hours of sleep. Now they land their perfect job in New York, which is 3 hours ahead, right? And they move there. Which scenario do you think is the highest likely to happen? Are they going to go to bed at 1 a.m. PST, right, which is 4 a.m. EST, and they're going to wake up 2 hours later in their new time zone and only sleep 2 hours a night? Or they actually are going to start sleeping 3 hours earlier in that new time zone and go to bed at 1 a.m. and wake up at 6? Right? They're going to change their sleep schedule. They're going to go to bed 3 hours earlier than they used to, right? So it's all habits. You guys can decide to build the kind of habits you want, right? For sleep, you're going to want to take some time to write down your ideal sleep schedule. Also, make any adjustments that you want to, like room temperature, bed sheets, that kind of stuff, to improve your sleep quality. If that's one of the main indicators of your health, then you're going to want to take it seriously. And obviously apply it, right? Because even if you know all that stuff and you don't apply it, then it's pointless. And I'm actually going to take some time to talk about a personal thing that happened yesterday with one of our best performing clients at Fondaco. Me and Joey had a lunch with him yesterday, and he's in our HTV program, one of the top agents in Canada as far as working for that specific company. He's actually the top 5. The guy makes 7 figures a year, so he's pretty good, right? He's only been in the business for 2 years, so he's one of those examples of people that are naturally born for greatness, right? I can tell you guys, he doesn't apply what we're going to talk about today as far as his personal high-performance optimization. He was telling us that he usually is gaming for about 3 hours every night, and smokes a joint right before he goes to bed every night also, right? But here's the thing. You might be thinking, he's doing that, right? He's doing that and he's performing. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is yesterday he was telling us that he's about to crack.
Yes.
You know? He feels like he is burning the candles on both sides, and he's only working about 50 hours a week also, which is crazy. It's not that much, right? And he feels like he's burning the candles on both sides, and he's about to crack, and he's mentally not healthy. And obviously, physically, hasn't been, doing some of the other stuff we're going to be talking about. So, this is why you wouldn't take that seriously.
And the joysticks.
Yeah, exactly. Joysticks and joints usually it's not the best pre-sleep schedule you want to have.
Depends which joystick.
There it is. As Reggie was saying, pause. Not just
So you're going to want to build your sleep schedule, right?
With or without it.
And then secondly, we're only going to talk about three things for health. We're going to talk about sleep, food, and training. So second one is food. One of the biggest mindset shift that I have with food is I used to treat it as something to give me dopamine. What do I want to eat today, right? In reality, food is only there to help you perform, meet your KPIs, and hit your goals. So that was a big mindset shift. The other one is everybody in this room already knows how to eat healthy, right? Depends who's going to do it or not. So, if you're interested in kind of what my eating schedule looks like and what I eat, then my breakfast is usually 1.5 hours after I wake up. I do a very short, fast, early day. Just a habit that I built, and it helps me go to work immediately instead of like having to do all this routine of eating and all that. So I wake up and go right away to work. And I also stop eating 3 hours before I go to bed to optimize my sleep. I sleep for 9 hours. So if you guys do the math, I do a fast of about 13 to 14 hours every day, which a lot of health experts obviously recommend doing for your overall health and all that. So for me, I don't feel like I'm fasting because I use all the night to kind of cheat, right? So in that 9-hour time frame, I actually go very hard. I eat a lot. So I usually do a pretty big breakfast with coffee, a pretty big snack also, a big lunch, and a big dinner, all in that 9-hour time frame. So I go pretty hard on protein, carbs, and all the things. So I do a little bit of vegetables, obviously, you can't skip the greens. Healthy carbs like rice and potatoes. I'm actually a big eater of carbs. A lot of people say, you got to cut your carbs and all that, but at the end of the day, it's, whatever works for you, whatever gives you the energy, and for me, that gives me energy, so I'm going to keep eating it. And I do a small dessert also, just to wrap up the day. If I go hungry, I always eat a couple protein bars during the day. So, like I was saying, I go very, very heavy on protein. That is literally the thing that repairs your body, right? And helps with your cells. So, a lot of people say, if you eat a lot of fat, you're going to be able to eat less, and that's going to be better for your metabolism. That didn't work for me, so food is one of those things you have to optimize yourself. You got to find what works for you. This is just the thing that works for me, but the main thing here is you got to think about what works for you. You actually got to do the split testing and find out, not just randomly eat random foods. So, obviously, the goal when you're trying to optimize your health also is to be mindful of the quality of the food. So you want to try to maximize the healthy foods and minimize the high sugar, high salt, heavy processed food. Everybody knows that, not everybody does it, right? And also a good trick for that, kind of like Sylvain was saying, you want to schedule your meals. You want to know ahead of time what you're going to be eating. It might not be as sexy, but it's definitely going to help you reduce your chances of being tempted by junk food, and it just makes it easier to build the habits that you want. Yeah, I actually put my meals in my schedule. Right? Because sometimes I forget, so I get a reminder. So you guys can write down what your meal schedule should look like for you, and then optimize it later. We're going to talk about how to make the food, because it's not just going to appear like that in front of you at the right time with the right food. So that also gets to be planned ahead of time. Third one, which is my favorite one, is fitness. So I am personally a big fan of two sport athletes. I know Joey is too. And we're going to explain what that means and the reasons why. Okay? So you're going to want one sport that helps you build your VO2 max, your cardio. Because all the studies show that active people that have a good VO2 max are less likely to have heart diseases, general chronic health problems. So obviously, if you're trying to, in 15 years, be ready for another 15 years of glory, you don't want to have a heart attack, right? That's not going to help you out. And then you need a second sport that helps you build muscle mass and strength. Because when you get older, another thing that's going to, affect your health is the quality of your bones and your joints, right? So strength training really helps you build bone density. So when you get older, if you fall, you're not going to break a hip, right? Very important. Plus, two sports is how you can look like a high performer being strong and shredded. So my routine for fitness is the same as Joey. We lift weights for 60 minutes 3 times a week, and we do boxing for 45 minutes 2 times a week, and that's it. And it's all planned and scheduled, obviously, in our calendar. So you guys all have a work calendar. I don't know if you guys all have a personal calendar where all your workouts, sleep, meals are in there, right? Because it's all the same thing. And yeah, I mean, it takes less than 5 hours a week. So if you don't have 5 hours a week to invest in yourself and your health, then you got to be a little bit more selfish. Yeah, go ahead, Joey.
Yeah, so one thing on that, it's literally like we say to our clients, right? We give them the roadmap. They all know what to do, right, to have results. Now, how many of them do it, right? It's the same thing with fitness. I was talking to Bart. That's why personal trainers have a job, right? Everyone knows they got to go to the gym and lift some weights and eat good. But why do people prefer to work with personal trainers? Because they give them the accountability to do that, right? So yeah, I know that for me and Pavel, I think we're going to talk about that later on, but we optimize our environment and we live purposely close to each other to keep ourselves accountable. Like, I know that at 2 p.m. every day I got to be downstairs ready to go for my boxing class or for working out because Pavel's going to be there. He's waiting for me to work out. Yeah. So having an accountability partner, someone that is close to you, or your spouse, right, or a friend, to do that, that's so powerful because that's what keeps you accountable to do it. So the easy part is planning it out. The hard part is actually doing it.
Sticking to it. So just one thing on that. You guys are all performance based. The one thing you can't have more of is time, right? So you're going to want to maximize all of your time and utilize all of your time, for the right kind of purpose. And that's why you're going to want to treat this as an appointment. If you have an appointment with a client, then you're going to go on there. You're not going to just no-show like they would do to you, right? So it's the same thing that Joey was saying. Like, I know that if I'm not there at 2:01, which is when we have our workout every day, Joey's going to text me on WhatsApp and you're going to be like, where are you? Or vice versa. So very important. And same for the meals. Actually, me and my girlfriend have a schedule for meals. And if I don't show up there, then she's gonna text me and be like, "Hey, it's ready. It's hot. It's ready to go. So you gotta eat it." So yeah, you had something there, Chris, right?
Yeah, I just wanted you to go back a couple slides.
Okay, what do you want to see?
That one right there. The VO2 max cardio. Okay.
Yep. Because a common mistake is people do only one of the two. Like they'll only do cardio. They'll only do strength, right? And that's good if like you're a one sport athlete and all you do is like run marathons, and obviously you're gonna want to do VO2 max heavy. But if you're just trying to be healthy and maximize your longevity, then you want to do 2 sports. Okay?
What does VO2 stand
I have no idea. I usually use
It's called cardio.
cardio.
That's the takeaway.
And warming up for a weightlifting session doesn't count as cardio, right?
Oh, no.
It's a spread.
No, like that 45-minute of cardio is like,
You can cheat with the sauna.
no.
Yes.
It'll raise your heart rate.
yeah, I used to train people and the sauna will get your heart rate up, which is
Yeah.
the same as cardio, but
Yeah,
it doesn't
it's-
help your joints to
Yeah,
get
exactly.
A good sweat session.
Well, the sauna is better than nothing for sure. There's tons of studies that show that people that live in these Scandinavian countries that do a lot of sauna, 1, 2, 3 times a week, they'll generally have X amount of less heart problems and all this. And that works, but it's not going to replace you doing real exercise.
Yeah, it doesn't build the muscles around your heart.
Yeah, maybe. And also, you can always do both, right? Actually, when I was in Colombia, lucky enough, we had a sauna in the building, and I used to do sauna during weekend, like just a recovery thing. So, all right. Any other questions about sleep and food and training before we go to the next one?
One more thing there on food, like I know that we have a girlfriend, right? Expectation is
Yeah.
there, so we're good with that. But before when we didn't have a girlfriend, right?
I'll talk about that.
You were all right, go ahead.
Yeah. Cool. So, as a recap, right, we only talked about health so far. If you eat good, you sleep good, you train good, are you maximizing your chances of performing better than you currently do?
Absolutely.
Cool. And if we know that when you perform better, you make more money, then are you going to be making more cash?
Yeah.
And if you make more cash, are you getting closer to your goals?
Yes.
Cool. So it all starts with your health and optimizing that. Gonna wait for Tony's picture. Cool. Let's talk about relationships, because that comes second to your health, obviously. Relationships are kind of like a double-edged sword, because you definitely want to have them, you want to keep them alive, you want to build them, you want to nurture them and enjoy them. Otherwise, there's no point in anything else in life, obviously. But no one wants to be rich and lonely. And on the flip side, if you don't control those relationships, they can actually affect you pretty negatively. So obviously, you don't want to have a relationship that's going to prevent you from being a high performer, because then you're going to be effed, right? Especially as a man, because then you're going to be broke and lonely. So, so that's not going to be cool.
That's the recipe for being a loser.
Exactly. So here's an analogy that I actually have from Patrick Bet-David, which is the founder of PHP, and a great mentor, or popular person for a lot of guys and ladies here. So he said we need more selfish people in this world, because selfish people want what's best for themselves. And if they're smart enough, they understand that in order to become the best, they need to provide the most amount of value to others, because that's the only way they're going to get that value back, right? So being selfish is often viewed as a negative thing. I actually think, it can be used as a very positive thing. So the number one relationship you'll want to nurture, maintain, and grow is the relationship you have with yourself, right? It's also the only one that you can control. So, you can take care of your health, you can take care of your relationship, your performance, but you can't do that to your sister, your mother, your friend, your spouse, etc. So that's the one you want to optimize for. So, an example of that is Joey and I are trying to give you guys the best environments, training systems, and team to give you as much value as possible up front, so that you can create as much value as possible to our clients, and we can get some value back. Right? And that's the same dynamic for everybody in this room. Same with, for example, the CSMs. They give so much value to our clients to help them succeed that at the end of their initial contract, well, they're collecting that value back.
Like the bag.
Exactly.
Sir.
This is also why we're creating a crazy 3.0 program, right? So that's going to change the game. The reason why? Because we're selfish. We're going to create so much value up front for these clients that they're never going to want to go back to what they were doing before that, right?
Which was nothing.
Exactly. So, I want you guys to think with this mindset when you think about your relationships. How can I be selfish? How can I give as much value as possible to my partner, my spouse, my kids, my team member, my friends, my clients, any kind of relationship you got going on? How can I provide so much value up front? Be selfish. Become the best person for them so I can get it back. Right? All right, you guys are ready for the last one? Money. So, who here is 100% happy with where they're at financially? No one. Okay. So, who actually wants to make more money? Raise your hand. All right, pretty much everybody. Wade, you're happy where you're at? Oh, okay. Awesome, good. So let's talk about the number one thing that will make you more money as a high performer and someone who's getting paid based on the value you give to other people. You guys might want to guess that one. It's helping more people, right? So that is literally your number one KPI. That's the one thing that you want to optimize for every day. For the setters, it's helping people connect with our company, find out about new and easier ways to reach their business goals. For closers, is once they have that person in front of them, they want to help these people see the path, a solution, and actually commit to a change. Because a lot of people already know it, but they're not going to commit to it, right? And for the tech and success team, it's to help those people, once they have committed to a change, actually walk the talk and make sure they get to where they want to go, right? So let's talk about all the things that you can do to maximize the amount of people that you can help and be a high performer. So this is going to get cool here. We already talked about help relationships, which are obviously number one. Now we're going to talk about a personal mindset shift that I had thanks to Joey. So I used to actually save about 83% of my income. And I wasn't making much. So my mindset was always save, 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 save. I was actually working at a call center making $12K a year, and I was saving $10K a year. Okay? So, and you know, other different jobs that I had. So I was living with my parents, not going out, not buying clothes, did that for 4 years. Okay? Invested everything into a fund, and 4 years later I had like 42K. So it was boring and not very sustainable, obviously, as far as a lifestyle. So when I started doing business with Joey, it was my first time really being performance-based in my income. You know, I had been performance-based in other areas like sports, but for income, that was the first time. So I still had that mindset that I needed to save as much as I can. So I was playing defense. But when you're playing defense, I mean, the lowest or the best score you can get is 0, right? When you're playing offense, you can score as many goals as you want, which is a big difference. Joey was a spender, he still is. And he's really the one who helped me understand the best strategy when you're performance-based, which is really to play offense. Yeah, so, well, kind of like what I said, the maximum you're able to save in theory is 100%, right? But that never really happens. On the flip side, there's no cap on the income that you can make. So let's talk about the offense investments that I made and that you can make into your performance, okay? One of the good ones is mentorship setup. You want to have a mentorship setup to help you level up your skills. This is great because it's one of the only things that will help you make more money without working more time, right? Which is pretty interesting. And by working time, I mean like actual productive time. So, funny, Sylvain, you mentioned that earlier. You know, the fisherman story. Well, that's true for anything, right? You might think you're sitting at your desk for 10 hours, but if you only take 3 calls that day and you don't generate revenue the rest of the time, then you only work 3 hours that day. So that's how you should track it, right? So let's talk about mentorship setup. Everyone needs a mentor to grow faster. Joey and I did not have access to mentors early on that had achieved what we wanted to, so we actually had to invest in it. The first one was an 8K client acquisition mentorship, which helped us learn the basics of sales. And, you know, think about that, guys. At that point, we were making maybe 8 to 10K per month before any kind of expense. So really, we were making maybe $500 profit a month when we invested into that, right? And that was great. Then we got access to a mentorship from this guy in Montreal. Joey mentioned him earlier because he really was a game changer for us, William Fontaine. So this guy is still a great friend to this day. I will never be grateful enough to the mentoring he gave us. Ended up being free, and then we started paying him, well, started off free, then we started paying him 1K per month for 4 coaching calls a month, which were an hour each. And it was literally the best investment that I've ever made in my life as far as social media, lead generation, CRM, Zapier automation, and at that point we were still extremely broke. We were not making money, right? Then we did a 36K client acquisition mentorship, which helped us learn the basics of coaching programs. And then recently another 24K client acquisition mentorship that ended up being great for sales process, fulfillment structures, and everything. So you guys probably know what that last one was. So luckily, you guys have access to great mentorship at this company from people that have walked the talk and are keep doing it on a daily, right? The only problem is you don't have to pay for it. So it gets devalued a lot. You take it for granted, right? We all do. So that's kind of the vicious thing here. The biggest thing about mentoring is you can't actually expect to get value out of it just by going through it. You really got to extract it on your own time, going back and studying the stuff, applying the stuff you learned. So CSM team, you guys do a call every day. The sales team, we do a call every day, right? You can't expect that to be your only mentoring and get value from it, unfortunately. You're going to have to go through the stuff on your own and actually walk the talk yourself. Outside of it, it's hard, right? It's all on you to actually perform and take care of yourself. Now the second one is the office setup that you're working in, which is very important. If our goal is to maximize our amount of productive time, then let's invest in having the best tools possible to be productive during those hours of the day. Obviously, you're going to need a comfortable chair. Your butt and lower back will thank you for it, but these are the other things that I would recommend. If you can have a standing desk, that's going to help you with energy and moving around and all that, obviously. Secondly, great quality audio is very important. A fast Wi-Fi, fast computer, 2 screens is going to help you a lot. I know Mark got 3 screens, Aldo got 3 screens. But yeah, 2 screens works good for me. And then another one is a polished background. So a lot of you guys have a very polished background, but I'm also mentioning this for some of the clients you might talk to, right? We don't coach them enough for them. But a lot of people, you see their bed in their background and you see that their house is a mess. And obviously if they're working sales, first impression counts. So just that switch can help them make so much more money. But no one's willing to tell them, right? So if any of those things you are not currently satisfied with as far as your office setup, then that's one of the easiest way to invest in yourself. You should go and buy it right now.
In terms of buying it, like this is, Pavel and I went to IKEA, right? Got a standing desk for what, $200? $200, a chair for $200, like 4. Let's say a good mic, right? Monitor is $100.
Yeah.
A good mic is like $100.
Under $1,000, you will have the best
setup
desk setup to work, and you can make that back in a week or 2.
Just by being comfortable, and it comes back to be motivating when you get to work, right?
And you can deduct it on your taxes. So.
Exactly.
What's your
I had to get earbuds too, particularly with the dialects. I have a hard time just with the computer. Speaker really hearing, maybe it's because I'm older. but I was really struggling until I got those earbuds, and then it helped me a lot. So if you're having a hard time getting people's understanding, particularly different dialects, that helps a lot.
Very good. Cool. Meal setup. So please, unless it's your passion, don't spend your time cooking. Okay? Your goal is to maximize your time spent on revenue-generating activities and playing offense. Obviously, cooking is defense, right? We're trying to save money. So we're trying to not play defense, we're trying to play offense. And there's different things you can do for that. I've personally enjoyed to use meal preps for a very, very long time. You can find one that's pretty tasty, affordable, and also will prevent you from eating fast foods, right? Because what you don't want to do, which is what I was doing last week in Miami, is do Uber Eats all the time, right? And then you open that app and what comes first? It's McDonald's, it's Taco Bell, it's so yeah, that's what you want to do there. Obviously, if you have a stay-at-home spouse, then bingo, right? You can leverage that also, which is great. But those are pretty much your option: meal prep, chef, or spouse, or last resort is batch cooking, which we also did that. On your Sunday, you'll cook all of your lunch, dinners, and that's going to be pretty boring, but you're going to have to go through it.
And honestly, there's no excuse to that. If you say, oh, it's expensive, $50 per meal, And how many hours are you spending going to get the ingredients, right? Cooking, that's an hour. Cooking your meal, that's another hour. Eating your meal, that's maybe 30 minutes. Cleaning your stuff, that's another 30 minutes, right? That's like 3 hours. So if you're worth more, then what?
If you make more than $5 an hour, then
You
you
should
really
not
should invest in
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
these three things.
Or at least batch cook your meal and not eat fat food. So yeah.
And even like we spend on tout cuit, it's like all cooked pre-done. But if you think about how much like food that you throw out because you've not used it and stuff like that, because you're already there's nothing that goes to spill, right?
Yeah.
So the amount you pay more for the meal, it actually costs us cheaper when we buy those than actual food that we buy at the grocery store.
Well, moral of the story is try not to be cooking because that's defense and you want to play offense, right? Secondly, housekeeping setup. Obviously, having a very, very clean, organized workspace is a must for productivity. If there's anything on my desk, like a single thing, I'll just start playing with it all the time. So I have to remind myself of throwing all these things away. And when we talk about focus, right? Well, it's eliminating all the distractions. So that's one thing I'm still struggling with that I know I gotta improve, is always keeping nothing on my desk. Otherwise I start playing with it and I'm not focused. So yeah, I mean, housekeeping, obviously, doing the cleaning is not ideal to maximize your offense. It's still a defense move. You should pay someone to do it, or again, leverage a stay-at-home spouse. Support them in doing that, right? Having a routine is a must. It prevents you from losing focus and time with distractions, and it gives you ultimate clarity. So,
Sorry.
Yeah.
Stop. There you go.
So if you have a great sleep schedule, a great work schedule, a great training schedule, a great meal schedule, a great family time schedule, then your productivity will actually go through the roof, right? Most people don't have that in their calendar. Most people only have a work calendar, right? Cool. Let's talk about current schedule. Joey and I have a very similar schedule. It's pretty much the same breakdown, but on slightly different time zones. Currently, my wake-up time is 10:30. I start working immediately. At 1 p.m. I do a breakfast for like 10-15 minutes, and that is family time for me, because I eat breakfast with my girlfriend. Then 2 p.m., is workout and shower. 3:30 is we start working again. So I do an hour, obviously, workout, 30 minutes to get ready. And then at 12:30 a.m. I wrap up the day, 1:30 a.m. sleep. So this every day gives me 9 hours of sleep, 12 and a half hours of work, 1 hour workout, and 1.5 hour of personal time. Okay? That's 24 hours well used. So I don't spend any time on social media or Netflix or anything like that, except in that 1.5 hours of free time. That is literally where you can do whatever you want with it, right? And this is the weekend schedule. Now, obviously, you guys can totally take all weekends out, that's fine, but 10 a.m. is wake up and start work until about 8:30, and then 1:30 a.m. is sleep. So that's about 82 hours a week of work, every week, which has been totally sustainable for me for the last 2.5 years. The only reason why is because I'm high performing in health, relationships, and the other thing we talked about around. So if I refer back to the other guy that we talked earlier, which is probably a higher performer than me naturally, just because he doesn't optimize that stuff, he's not going to be able to sustain that for so long, right? Yeah, and also if you think about it, it would have taken us 5 years to build the same company instead of 2.5 years if we were only working 40 hours a week. So that's pretty cool. That gets to compound, obviously. Yeah, so it might not be sustainable, but the point is, you got to build your own schedule, not a work schedule. Build your life schedule, right? Put everything in your calendar and stick to it. It will help you perform a lot more. Last money advice is, the best tip to make your finances better is just to work more. Because when you're working, you're making money. When you're not working, you're spending it, right? So if you want to get a better ratio, then work more. It's quite simple. All right, if you guys have one takeaway about this whole presentation, one thing to remember from this workshop is for high performers, there's no guesswork, right? Every single thing is planned out. So everything has a meaning, a purpose, and it helps you get closer to your number one goal, which is to perform more at life. Not at work, at life. Right? So we all have the same 24 hours in a day. We all have the same resources. The goal is how we allow them or allocate them. And, well, I'm not sure what's coming next, so let's see. Okay, yeah. So next step is for you guys to structure your health, sleep, food, and conditioning or training. Structure your relationships. Get better at giving so you can get better at receiving. And then structure your money, right? We got mentorships, dream office, delegate cooking, housekeeping, and build your perfect schedule depending on the check you want to write yourself.
You want to write yourself.
Alright?
Gangster on this right now.
And I got a little bonus for you guys that we're all going to give you access to. And this is the nutrition and training masterclass that Joey and I are using. So it's by Kino Body. He actually trains a lot of the Hollywood star and, you know,
Greg Gallagher.
yeah, Greg Gallagher. You've probably seen him on YouTube and everything. We're going to give you access to the full course. So it's a very high performer training.
Yeah, and the beauty of that is 3 times a week. It's like super efficient, 3 times a week, 45 minutes, and
For the workouts.
gotta look like a movie star. If we're going to Chocolate Hill location, we gotta look good. The team has to look good.
Next time it's palm trees. Instead of a black tie dinner, it's going to be a chest dinner. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys. Any questions?
And that's the exciting part, honestly. Like I'm really, and Pavel, we're super intense on our routine because like that's the process, right? That's what you're gonna do every single day. So if you're not enjoying your routine and you're just guessing it, right?